Something like a supervolcanic eruption, or an asteroid strike, or a pandemic plague just happened to us. But some of them we do to ourselves, like nuclear weapons, bioterrorism, destruction of the ozone layer, and anthropomorphic climate change. Nuclear weapons are perhaps the first human-created existential threat with the potential to end much of life on Earth. Humanity first witnessed the destructive power of nuclear weapons in 1945, when the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, vaporizing 2 entire cities and causing the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. Instead of banning such terrifying weapons, humans built thousands more of them, and now more nations than ever possess them. Russia, United States, France, China, United Kingdom, Pakistan, India, Israel, North Korea, and Iran is on the verge. We made them bigger too. The largest nuclear bomb actually exploded was the horrifying Russian Tsar bomb on October 30th, 1961. It was larger than 3,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs. The top of the cloud reached 40 miles high and was equivalent to 50 million tons of TNT. In 1962, humans marched right up to the edge of nuclear war when the world's 2 nuclear superpowers, the United States and Soviet Union, faced off in the Cuban Missile Crisis. The whole world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen. Fortunately, they backed down and Armageddon was avoided. In 1964, a young 19-year-old songwriter, P.F. Sloan, captured the turmoil of that time, including the nuclear possibilities, in a song he called Eve of Destruction. He wrote Eve of Destruction as a prayer, asking for understanding about a world teetering on the edge. Barry McGuire sang the song, with his rough voice matching the harsh lyrics, and it rose to #1 and offers a timeless message, still seen on YouTube with millions of views. Today, there is another human-created existential threat, even more powerful than nuclear weapons on a global scale. That is the threat of climate change, the result of global warming caused by burning too much fossil fuel. Hundreds of millions of years ago, plants and tiny organisms collected and stored solar energy from the sun. When they died, they and their stored solar energy were buried by sediments for millions of years. Deep in the earth, enormous pressure and heat turned them into coal and oil and natural gas, an almost infinite bank account of stored solar energy. In the last 200 years, we have taken massive amounts of those ancient fossil fuels out of the ground and burned them with oxygen, releasing millions of years of solar energy in the blink of a geological eye, along with carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide is causing our world to heat up and is acidifying our oceans, with catastrophic consequences to life on Earth. Global warming isn't something we just recently became aware of. Science has known about global warming for about 200 years. In the 1820s, Jean-Baptiste Fourier proposed the atmosphere could retain heat. In the 1850s, John Tyndall showed that carbon dioxide could absorb infrared light and cause a greenhouse effect. In 1896, savant Arrhenius accurately calculated by hand how much the temperature would go up based on levels of carbon dioxide. In 1899, Thomas Chamberlain proposed that glaciers could melt and form based on levels of carbon dioxide. In the mid-1950s, Roger Rebel testified before Congress about the dangers to spaceship Earth from increasing carbon dioxide and showed the oceans were absorbing carbon dioxide and acidifying. He was the first to use the term global warming. In 1988, James Hansen testified before Congress, stating the urgent need for international cooperation to defuse the global warming time bomb. We've been warned about global warming many times over the past decades. Even though we've known about global warming for a long time, we haven't acted on it to protect ourselves from the consequences of climate change. The reason for this is decades of deceit by the fossil fuel industry. Exxon's own internal research in the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s warned that human carbon dioxide emissions could raise global temperatures, causing serious consequences that could bring about significant changes in Earth's climate. But in the 1980s, they decided to confuse the issue and hide the facts from the public. The fossil fuel industry created phony alternative scientific information, promoted by a handful of hired guns, to promote the idea to the public that the effect of greenhouse gases on climate change is not well understood. And they funded campaigns of politicians who would support their deceit and delayed corrective measures that could have been taken decades ago. A 1 degree Celsius increase in Earth's temperature seems like a trivial amount, but that amount of extra energy dwarfs the energy of nuclear weapons. The calculated excess energy from a 1 degree Celsius increase in Earth's temperature is about 1,000,000 times greater than the energy of the Tsar bomb. That's over 2,700 Tsar bombs per day, day after day, year after year. That's a lot of energy. If the Earth's average temperature goes up 2 degrees Celsius, as will happen if we don't change our ways, those numbers will double. The energy released in a nuclear explosion is an instantaneous disaster which occurs in seconds, easily seen and greatly feared. The energy released in global warming may be 1,000,000 times greater, but it is a slow-motion disaster that is happening over decades to centuries, which makes it hard to comprehend. Once carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere, we don't have any good way to get it back out, except wait hundreds to thousands of years. The carbon dioxide we continue to add now condemns future generations to a more precarious future. I wrote a new song to focus on these dangers. I called it Eve of Climate Change. Like P.T. Sloan, it is my prayer that we understand what climate change is doing to our world and act to protect life on Earth. There's no denying the challenges we face. So far, we haven't done what we need to do to avoid the crisis of climate change, which is to stop burning fossil fuels. Back in 2014, President Obama observed, "We are the first generation to feel the effects of climate change, and the last generation who can do something about it." There is no time left to waste. We've got to get moving.